Hi, my name's Ruan and this is my channel, The Yorkshire Sew Girl. How are we all? I hope you're all really well. I'm doing good. I thought I'd just pop on today to have a bit of a chat. Okay, so I've seen this hashtag going around the sewing community on YouTube called This or That, and I was intrigued, basically. So it was originally discussed on the Love to Sew podcast, and then it was brought to the YouTube community by Julie, the Curated Curvy, who I had not actually discovered before. So I've recently discovered Julie and I've watched some of her vlogs, and she's got a great personality. She talks about all good things in the sewing community, fails, makes, you name it. And yeah, she's got a lovely presenting personality. So I will tag her in the description box below. So do go and check her out if you don't already, because she's one to watch. But yeah, she's basically brought it to life kind of in a vlog sense. And I think you're supposed to be tagged to do this. I haven't been tagged, just let you know now. I have not been tagged, so I am a rebel. There's going to be no sewing police coming and getting me though for it, is there? I'm sure there isn't. And do you know what? I'm not going to tag anybody else as well. Basically, I'm just going to say out loud, any of my gorgeous sewing YouTubers that are my friends, if you want to do it, then you crack on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so this is all about what your preferences are in your sewing. And I thought that'd be quite interesting. Now, I think there may be lots and lots of comments that might get put in the description box below or remain nice. You know, there's some of us that like one thing and there's some of us like the other. And we're allowed to coexist in the same land in peace and harmony. You know what I'm saying? When I get to some of the questions, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we all have different preferences, don't we? And I found it fascinating watching other people doing vlogs on this to understand what their preferences are. So I thought I'd have a chat with you guys as well. I'll tell you what my preferences are. What do we think? Are we up for it? Let's do this. So there's 4 topics, okay? There's sewing prep is topic number 1, fabric is number 2, clothing construction is number 3, and sewing habits is topic number 4. And there's a certain amount of questions per topic. Now, I would like to say that I'm just going to whiz through these and it'll be done in no time and I'll be uploading this straight away. But we all know what I'm like. So the likelihood is we'll still be here in about 20 minutes, won't we? Let's face it. But you never know. I may surprise myself and you. So topic 1, sewing prep. Number 1 is shopping new versus stash busting. Now I want to know, is this what kind of thing that you either have to choose one or jump off a cliff type of thing? Like, can you have a bit of both? Because I am a bit of both, if I'm honest. I would say 50% of my projects that I make are from my stash, and 50% are probably from me not being able to control my urges to buy new fancy fabric from the internet. I'm like a magpie, basically. So if I see anything and I feel like I can't live without it, then I will get it. But I do try to be a little bit more intentional. So I can't say that I'm one or the other. I mean, I'm causing controversy on the first question, you know? Brand new fabric or stash, 50-50. Sorry, don't come and knock on my door and shoot me, will you? Number 2 is PDF versus paper patterns. Now, I love the look of a paper pattern. Oh, to hold a paper pattern in your hand is delicious, isn't it? Well, if you don't think so, there's something wrong with you. But PDFs for me are the way forward. Although I like to physically hold something, the reason that I like PDFs is because I know I can get it reprinted again if I make an error or anything like that. And I know that I've got it forever. So for example, I have cut some paper patterns out before and then I've used them that much that they've become a bit dog-eared and a bit blur. And I know you can trace them off and all that jazz, but I'm lazy. I'm not going to be doing that. So I think for me, PDFs is definitely the way for me. And the other thing that I like about PDF is it's instantaneous. If you can be bothered to take your PDFs together. I can't half the time, if I'm honest. I do send them off for AO printing. But there's the odd one that I won't. So for an example, the other day I thought, oh, I'm going to get on the Tammy Handmade Naya t-shirt bandwagon because everybody's made them in the community. I literally printed it off at work. It was 7 pages and stuck it together and cut the paper pattern out within 15 minutes maybe. I mean, how quick is that? So yeah, I think, there we go. I've already said it. I'm a PDF gal. Right, well, here we go. It leads on to number 3, cutting versus tracing. I think we all know what I'm going to answer to that because I'm a rebel. It's definitely cutting for me. I have traced before, don't get me wrong, like on some kids' patterns and things like that, because I've got 2 kids of different ages. I have traced before, but because I do PDFs, I feel like they're more disposable. That's probably very bad of me. But with a paper pattern, having to get it out and trace it, and it's the same with some of the magazines, you know, like the Birder magazines and things like that, I'm kind of like, maybe not. I like the thought of it, but I just don't want to have to spend that extra time tracing. I think maybe if I worked part-time, or if I didn't work, or I didn't have young children and things like that, and I had a lot more time on my hands, then maybe I would. So maybe I'll change as I get older. But for now, my time is really precious and I don't get an awful lot of time behind my sewing machine. So to me, cutting straight into it gives me extra time. Okay, number 4. This is the last question from topic number 1, which is sewing prep. Muslin or just go for it? What do you guys think I will be on this one? Obviously, just go for it. Why not? With an exception, though. I don't know why I did that so dramatically. With an exception that if it's a fabric that is incredibly precious to me, I will make it up in advance, but it would be a wearable muslin. So I would never particularly buy calico or anything like that to make a muslin of like a bodice or anything like that, unless I was starting to make loads of fitted patterns that I thought were going to be a bit of an issue from a construction point of view. So yeah, I think for me it's just to kind of go for it. If I've got a fabric that I'm not too precious about, or it hasn't cost me too much money, then I'll give it a go with that first if I think there may be issues. But most things, if I'm honest, I just wing it. If I'm honest, it's true. There's no point in lying because that is just how it is. Right, topic number 2 is fabric. Okay, so number 1 within this topic is in-store versus online shopping. It's hard. But my absolute preference would be in-store, without a doubt. But we all know, and I think it's probably the same in any country, that fabric stores are becoming, you know, less and less, unfortunately, in-person fabric stores. A lot of people are having to go online. A lot of people just aren't making enough money to survive. You know, we had the whole COVID situation where people bought loads of fabric and then they stopped buying fabric. And I would love to only shop online, in store, if I'm honest. But because of that reason, I can't. So I do buy a lot of stuff online. And I've kind of learnt over the years what to order, what not to order. And there's still the odd one where I'm like, not too sure about that. But there's something about feeling a fabric. I don't know what it is. I'm very, I like my clothes to feel nice on my skin and things like that. So I do often want to feel it. So if I can go in store, I absolutely will. And I'll take every advantage I can to go and find a store as well, wherever I am. Okay, 2, knits versus wovens. I'm a woven girl. I mean, I've made loads of stuff in knits and like I'm wearing a knitted fabric now. But to make a garment, woven is 100% my favourite. And I would say that viscose is my favourite out of that as well. I just love things to flow. I like them to be light on my body and be able to flow and have, yeah, I don't know, just be nice and cool as well. But then obviously the winter seasons come into play and having a snuggly jumper, you can't beat that either. But if I had to choose one or the other or jump off a cliff, it would be woven. I'm so dramatic, making myself laugh here. Right, fabric. Then rotary cutters versus scissors. Now, this is going to cause all sorts of debate, is this. Oh, I can't wait to see your comments in the section down below, because I follow a lot of groups on Facebook, sewing groups on Facebook, and when I was watching the Sewing Bee, there were so many people that were like, oh, why are people using rotary cutters? Oh my God, that's absolutely outrageous. You'll all chop your fingers off and blah, 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 blah. And it gave me a bit of a giggle, if I'm honest, because I understand that majority of people have been taught to use scissors when they're dressmaking. However, I used to always cut out with scissors, always, always, always. And I cannot even remember the first time I used a rotary cutter. It must have been somewhere else for some reason. But I used one and I was kind of like, excuse me, why have I not been doing this all this time? Now, it does take a bit of getting used to, and it's for some people and it's not for others. However, again, like I mentioned before, my time is really precious for making garments. So rotary cutter makes my cutting out process so much faster. And I always found, no matter what I did and how many different techniques I used, I always used to have kind of jagged edges, if I'm honest, with the scissors. Even if I used long, sweeping, movements with my scissors and all that jazz, I still would struggle. Plus, you have to pin your pattern down the whole time. Whereas now, I lay my fabric out, I wang my fabric weights on, my pattern weights, and then I whiz around it with my rotary cutter. Bish, bash, bosh, done. The only thing I do use my scissors for, obviously, is notches when I'm cutting my notches, but that is it. So I am a rotary cutter lover, and nothing you write down below is going to make me think else. Honestly, I love my rotary cutter. Yeah. But I also understand you guys that love your scissors as well, because some people do find it a lot easier to have more control over scissors as well. Next topic. Oh, you couldn't even see my eyebrows. My eyebrows were going up then. Number 2 is clothing construction. So number 1 is follow the pattern or wing it. Now, do that finger thing again. What is wrong with this finger? I think that you lot will think that I am a wing it kind of girl, but I'm not. I am not a rule breaker, okay? So I will follow the rules for pretty much everything in my life. So I'm definitely a follow the instructions kind of gal. I'm not saying there's the odd time I'll go a bit rogue, but it's very rare. There's the odd time where I'm like, well, I don't like that finishing technique, or I would do that slightly different, but I wouldn't kind of get my pattern and go, I'll just do my own thing with this, because I wouldn't feel confident enough. Now, I've been sewing for 9 years. Came up on my memories the other day on Facebook of me buying my first machine. And you would think maybe in 9 years that I'd be kind of like, well, you can just throw something together. And I probably could if I wanted to. But again, I think that would lead to mistakes, which would lead to me unpicking, which would lead to extra time that I haven't got. So right now, I'm a follow the rules kind of girl. So you give me a good instruction set and I'll be happy as Larry. I even now, right, and I am obviously a bit more experienced now, I even like it when they tell me when to finish my seams after every step. Yep, I'm that kind of girl. Sorry, I know there's some of you that'll be like, Rowan, you're letting me down. You should know what you're doing now, but I do know what I'm doing half the time. I just want to be told what to do. Makes it easier, just like sat-nav. Anyway, so number 2 is bias tape finish versus facings. I just don't like either, if I'm honest. I'm not a particular fan of either. Facings do my head in. I understand the necessity for them on a lot of occasions. However, it's very rare that I can get a facing to sit nice and flush no matter what I do. The only time I don't mind them is when you actually stitch over the top of them as well. So if I had to choose one either or jump off a cliff, it would be bias binding, because I actually quite like the process of putting bias binding in. However, it's a very lengthy process. So if I could, I would prefer like a lined bodice. So I've just made a dress where the bodice was actually lined, and it was so much easier than having to put bias binding around it or put a facing in and it'd be all wonky. I may not like it. So yeah, did I even answer that one? Bias tape if I had to. Number 3, serge seams versus French seams. Again, this is a speed thing though. I'm sounding like the laziest sewist ever, aren't I? But for me, serge seams, because they look neat and tidy and they're super fast. Now, don't get me wrong. If I was making something in a beautiful fabric, or if I was making like, I don't know, really nice lingerie type nightwear type of thing, then I would go for a French seam. But again, you've got to do 2 seams every seam. So I'm kind of like, let's just serge that. I'm sorry, but that's just what I think. Again, there'll be some of you like, Ruan, slow down, appreciate the process. I understand all of that, but I like to get my makes done because I don't get that much time. So again, maybe that'll change. Although you really cannot love anything more than the inside of a garment that has been French seamed. But if I had to, or jump off a cliff, it would be a serge seam. Okay, button fly versus zip fly. This is hard for me because I've only ever done one zip fly ever. And that was on some wide leg trousers that I made from Peppermint magazine for So Frugal this year. And I was amazed at how amazing it was doing a zip fly, although I do believe that their construction method is slightly different to others. So I've never done a button one. I mean, the button ones are all right. I used to have some jeans with buttons on. They were okay. They just take a little bit longer to get on, to do up, don't they? So I think if I had to choose, it would be a zip fly. Number 5, button by hand or versus machine. Ooh, this is an interesting one, this. So I always do them by hand. And that is because I'm scared to try machining them on. How ridiculous is that? And I have vowed to myself, only recently actually, that I will learn how to do it on my machine, because when I've seen like reels of people doing it and things like that, I'm kind of like, oh, well, that just does actually look quite easy and would not take as much time. However, there's something about, I don't know, lining my buttonholes up and then working out where it needs to go and everything. So I'm going to go hand sewn for now, but watch this space, because once I learn how to do it on machine, I'm probably going to convert completely because it'll be quicker, won't it? Yeah, baby. Fusible versus sewing interfacing. Fusible all the way. I have used sewing before, but I can't remember what for. What was it I was making? Maybe it was a bag or something like that. And obviously sewing interfacing is easy, but again, I quite like the stability of when it's fused to that piece of fabric, so it's not moving about, but it has to be good fusible interfacing, because I can't stand it if you can see bubbles on the other side on the main fabric. So without a doubt for me, it is fusible. Number 7, snip as you go or all at once. Well, I have to snip as I go. Well, I probably don't do it after every seam, but after maybe 2 or 3 where I literally can't see what's happening on my garment, because maybe I've got, I don't know, 2 gathering stitch lines plus a seam line plus another seam line, and it's just getting to the point where I actually can't see what's going on. Then I'll snip them all off. I definitely wouldn't leave them till the end, because I do like my garments to be quite neat and tidy on the inside. So if I had to choose, I would say I do snip as I go along, but sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 seams before I do that. And last on this one, press as you go or all at once. I'm definitely a press as you go. I'm just going to put this out here. I hate doing it. It irritates me. It's boring. It's really boring. But I know it's a necessity, and I know that your garment will look better if you press as you go, because it means everything's laying in the right spot, the fabric's where it should be, and it's also going to make it easier when you come to iron it at a later date after you've constructed it and washed it. It's going to look a lot nicer then, and be a lot easier to iron. So I'm definitely an iron as you go, although I don't particularly like it. You know what I'm saying? Because, for example, if you've got a seam and it's, say a skirt is attached to a bodice, and you've serged the seam, okay, on just a standard seam, then you come to hem it, so you flip it up, and obviously your seam has to go one way or the other, because unless you do serge both pattern pieces and then lay them flat open and press them open, but I tend to just fold them over one way and press them down. What I don't like is if you then do your hem and they've been pressed one way, and then you put your bodice in and by accident you've pressed them the wrong way. So at the top of your seam it's pressed one way, and at the bottom of your seam it's pressed the other, and then when you go to iron it, it's all wonky. That really irritates me. So pressing as you go can eliminate that, don't you know? Right, topic number 4. We're on to the last one, guys. Hey, I'm doing all right. We're at nearly 20 minutes and I'm doing all right. Topic number 4 is sewing habits. Okay, so late night seamstress versus daytime seamstress. Now, this is interesting. If we're talking preferences, how many times can I use my finger pointing at everybody today? If I had to choose a preference, I would go with daytime seamstress because I do prefer that. I prefer natural daylight and having a bit more time. However, like I say, I do work and I do have 2 young children, so it does tend to be more nighttime sewing than it used to be. I used to really struggle on a night from a tiredness point of view. However, a lot of that was, I think, eye strain and things like that. However, since I've got my Serious Readers Light, because that is actually daylight wavelength technology, so it feels like it's daylight. It's not like an artificial yellow light. Since I've had the lamp, I've definitely been able to sew longer in an evening without feeling that tiredness and thinking, oh, I need to go and have a sit down and give my eyes a rest, because it just feels like kind of I'm sewing during the day anyway. So if I had to choose, I would definitely say daytime seamstress, but myself personally at the moment is probably more a nighttime seamstress. Yeah. Number 2, slow and steady versus frantic sewing. Frantic sewing, that made me laugh, that. Frantic makes me think that you're just like ridiculous. I would say I'm definitely slow and steady, without a doubt. I mean, if I had to go on the sewing bee, if someone put a gun to my head and said, you've got to go on the sewing bee, I would probably still be there choosing my fabric by the time most people were doing their hem, because I don't like to sew fast, because I don't feel like I'm good enough to sew fast, and it makes me really anxious if I have to. And that's why I admire people so much when they do sew fast. So if, for example, if I'm at Rachel's house and Rachel from Stitched Up is sewing and she's literally drumming through stuff, she's just incredible. And then I'm there with, like, I've turned about 4 seams and she's made a garment. And I'm like, oh, how is that possible? So I really admire people that do that, because they've got the confidence in their own ability. I don't think I have that confidence. So I'm definitely a slow and steady, you know what I mean, the tortoise type of thing. But tortoise won the race, did he not? So, you know what I'm saying? Let me know. I need to know if people are frantic sewers. The only time I'm frantic is if I've got like a deadline for something and I've committed to too much and I need to get it all done. But my problem is, if I start sewing really fast, I tend to make loads of errors and then I have to unpick it and then do it slowly anyway. So absolutely no point for me, really, is there? And last but not least, you may be glad to know, is tidy as you go versus one big cleaning session. I would like to say that I clean as I go. However, I don't. I have certain places around here to put certain things, and I don't tend to do that. But what I will do is I will probably do about 2 projects before there's so much chaos in my room and on my desk that I literally can't cope. At the moment, for example, my cutting table that's over there, last week it had a pile of fabric on it that had come in of different things from like subscription boxes and from when I went over to Sewerby and Bridlington and I bought a few bits. I'd had a delivery, you know, that sort of thing, and it was starting to pile up because I was being lazy and just leaving it. And then at the weekend I made myself put everything on Stash Hub, store it away and clear it all down, and now when I come in it's just like bliss. And I definitely think the more I tidy up and the more often, the clearer my headspace is to be more creative. So I'm kind of my own worst enemy sometimes when I decide I'm not doing that and I'm being a rebel, because then I don't want to come into my sewing room as often because there's just so much stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? So are you a tidy as you go person? Are you one of them really good people that we are all striving to be? Or are you chaotic? There's no right and there's no wrong here, but I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below on some of these topics, because I know there'll be some strong, very strong opinions on everything. But I thought it was a really good way of kind of talking through what preferences we have. And like I say, no right, no wrong. It is what it is. So let me know down in the comment section down below what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I will be seeing you again very soon. If you have liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. I am getting very close to 10,000 subscribers now. So once I've hit that, I'm going to be happy as Larry. I'm just going to sit back then. I'll be fine. But now I'm like, oh, double digits is coming. Double digits is coming. So if you do like my content, please do subscribe. It's free to do so, and it's a great way to support my channel. And hopefully, guys, I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye.